Well, hello, welcome to ILoveGay today. And we are in New York and we're in the world of history today. And we are here with Michael Venturiello. How are you?
I'm good, Matt. So good to be here. Thanks so much for having me on.
Absolutely. Well, I've loved watching what you do. I've seen you since it seems like it was around the IGLTA convention and World Pride in New York when you got started with Christopher Street Tours, yeah?
Yeah, that's right. When we met at the IGLTA conference, it was World Pride in New York City. It was the 50th anniversary of the Stonewall Uprising, so there was certainly a lot going on. And we had been giving tours for about a year at that point. So
Yeah, yeah.
now it's been 5 years. Yeah.
Wow. Well, at that time, like what how'd you get started there?
Yeah. So I moved to the city a few years before that and wanted to write a book about Stonewall. So that was kind of my initial purpose. And surprisingly, there wasn't really a walking tour that existed that kind of covered the breadth and the depth of everything that we talk about on our Village Pride tour. So when I was doing my own research for the book, I figured it might be a little bit more accessible to folks to just put that in a walking tour format as opposed
Yeah.
to writing a book, which is a very lengthy process.
Yep.
Which, it's still a work in progress, but the walking tour just made it super accessible for folks to be able to learn about some of this history. And that was really the inspiration, was making this history accessible for folks.
Well, that's really cool. But yeah, you do you have a few things going on, right? I know you have when I was on your website, Village Pride and but also something newer with downtown activism as well.
Yeah, we just launched a brand new walking tour. It's our new downtown LGBTQ activism tour in Lower Manhattan, which
Yeah.
was through a very generous grant through the Downtown Alliance. They had a walking tour incubator program where five entrepreneurs were able to create a brand new walking tour in the Lower Manhattan area. And I was picked as one of those incubator fellows. And it's been an incredible experience working with some of the top mentors in the tourism industry and working with the Downtown Alliance, who are truly experts in that neighborhood and in tourism. And to be able to produce this new product is something that I'm really super excited about. And I hope other
Yeah.
people are too.
Yeah, that's very cool. I know you do, but when you have like Stonewall Inn and Julius and so forth on the list, is that part of the Village Pride one, or is that which tour would that be?
Yeah, so that's the Village Pride Tour. So
Okay.
what I like to say is, like, if you're looking for LGBTQ history 101 in New York City, maybe it's your first time in the city or you want to see like the highlights, like Stonewall and Julius and the LGBT Center, that's our Village Pride walking tour. But then kind of the 102 level, or maybe like if you want the deeper history or the more local history, the Downtown Activism Tour is a great choice because you really get some of that hidden history that not everybody really knows about. When we
Yeah.
think about LGBTQ activism or LGBTQ culture, your brain might automatically go to Stonewall. But the very first gay rights public demonstration was actually in Lower Manhattan, and it happened 5 years before Stonewall. So, hearing some of those stories, if you want
Yeah.
that kind of hidden, undiscovered LGBTQ history, you'll definitely find some of that on the downtown tour.
Well, your timing also, it just sort of kind of coincided with because it was I think it was around World Pride when it was is it the National Park Service and then they made Stonewall kind of part of their national park history designation and so forth.
Yeah, in 2016, they created
Okay.
the Stonewall National Monument Visitor, or sorry, the Stonewall National Monument, I should
Yeah.
say, in
Yeah.
2016. I was going to say the Stonewall National Monument Visitor Center, which is actually a
Yeah.
brand new initiative that's happening, but that'll be opening in June 2024. So
Okay.
it's an incredible place to be, just
Yeah.
walking through Stonewall, not just as a bar, but kind of knowing the historical significance and then knowing the work that the National Park Service now does and kind of some passive education and educational programming just to learn a little bit more about the history and the impact is truly an incredible thing.
Yeah, no, that whole area, I watched it evolve. It's really kind of cool to see where, the park across the street and so many of it just, the whole area just seems to have become kind of energized based once that happened.
Yeah, it's a really special place. I someone asked me the other day, like, what's your favorite place in New York City? And they were like, don't say Stonewall as like a joke. But it really is, it really is. It just kind of has this like magnetic energy to it, and you really feel everything that happened there.
Yeah.
So yeah, how the park has evolved and how the National Park Service has gotten involved in that. And in June they have the pride flags all up around the park, uh, like the fences. It's a
Yeah.
really really great place to be.
Well, I love how you also promote yourself. I've seen I think over the years I've seen you mostly on Facebook and so forth, but now you're I know you're on TikTok and you're doing more videos there and just recently on Twitter as well.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny story how some of these things naturally occur. I started TikTok, I think a lot of us did, as like a pandemic project out of boredom, and I just thought it was like a fun little app, to share some LGBTQ history. And again, it kind of goes along with our mission of making history more accessible
Yeah.
for folks that weren't traveling, and so much of travel was paused during the pandemic that TikTok kind of became a natural place to just post videos. But a lot of people that come on my tour now are like, "Oh, I saw you on TikTok," or I've been learning about history, and now I'm excited to be here." And the same with Twitter. I think social media has a really great presence and a really great opportunity to share some of that. But a funny thing happened. I recently just joined Twitter based on your advice, actually, about chatting about that. And within maybe a week or so of joining, I had reposted a tweet by an author that I follow, an LGBTQ author, and someone booked a tour from that tweet, and they were like, "I found you on Twitter," which I thought was just like such a fun little thing. The social
Yeah.
media world, I guess, is a small one.
Well, you're really good, and that's the whole thing. Is you kind of tagged someone who's also in the world of LGBT history and wrote a book. But then there's between that and then some of the other resources. I think it's like NYC LGBT sites or history sites. There's a few out there that are really good at just like constantly always kind of keeping things updated. And by tapping into that, that's the beauty of that's why I was encouraging on Twitter is just because you start to tap into their audience, they get to know you, and it turns into this really nice little perfect storm.
Yeah, yeah. Social media is such a great way, I think, not only to promote a business, which I think is certainly one part of it, but especially in like the LGBTQ history realm in the world, I think it's such a great way to share free resources as well. I think the New York City LGBT Historic Sites Project is a great example of that. But we try to do that as well, sharing fun facts and did you know and historical quotes and things that can kind of just get little snippets of our tour or even beyond our tour.
Yeah.
But a great place for free resource sharing as well.
Yeah, that's how in 2018 for World Pride, there was a lot of gathering of various nonprofits to figure out what they were going to do, and history was a big part of that. And that's through Twitter. I learned about that, and that's also I learned about it through Eric Marcus and Making
Mm.
Gay History and his podcast, and all of that kind of again brought us all together, and we got to actually connect in the real world based on that.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, he was doing some great work in the Stonewall 50 consortium and
Yeah.
continues to do that work. Eric, he's a great inspiration for me and the tours that I give, and kind of him uplifting this history in so many different ways.
Yeah, I love seeing all that. But I was going to say you leave no stone unturned. I think I just go on Google. I type in Christopher Street Tours. I mean, you're on TripAdvisor, you're on Yelp, you're in Airbnb experiences, but you've really covered all the bases.
Yeah, it's really a special thing to run an organization or a business, but that has a strong and powerful mission. And I think that's really what drives me. It's the mission driven purpose of sharing this LGBTQ history, making it accessible to people, making sure that it's affordable and that it's out there and that people can learn about this history. We could talk, or I could talk a long time about like why that's so important to me. But I think the short of it is that seeing yourself represented in history can truly be a life saving device. It truly is life saving for so many people. And I think that's why I try and cover all the bases and make sure that every stone is turned over, because whether you go on Viator, Get Your Guide, or Airbnb experiences, or you just type in gay New York City tour,
Yeah.
I hope that it comes up in the sense of, if you can book a tour and you can be in New York City, that's fantastic. But if not, and you find me on Twitter or on TikTok and you can just learn a little bit of the history that way, I think that's also a fantastic thing.
I like seeing that. So when I go to New York a lot, and I'm only 2 hours outside the city now, and so I look forward to kind of planning ahead and going on one of your tours on one of these weekends here before winter kicks in.
Yeah, anytime. You're more than welcome. And we operate all year round, even though it would certainly be nicer to come in a sunny day as opposed to a snowy one. But yeah, we'd love to welcome you on either one of our tours in the next few months. That would be great.
I would love that. But no, just really thanks so much for kind of sharing a bit of your story with our audience here. And like I said, look forward to connecting in the real world soon.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Matt. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And it feels good, so good.